Hello, everyone. As we continue to survey the damage that last week's flooding had on southern Montana, so many citizens of the state have lost so much, everything in their homes, all their food. It's so troubling to see, but that is one thing about being from Montana. We come together and we help each other out. And I'd just like to welcome today our guest, Shaylee Harney, a familiar face in the agriculture industry here in Montana. She's the executive director of the Montana Beef Council, and we're going to talk about what the Montana Beef Council and what livestock producers are doing to make sure that those impacted by the flood are being fed, can restock their freezers, if those freezers are even working. But first off, Shaylee, welcome to the program. And I know things are pretty close to you growing up in the Red Lodge community. How are you doing here today? And what are you hearing from your friends and family down around Red Lodge today?
Thank you, Lane. Yes, it was very epic devastation. I can't really think of anything else to describe it any other way. Really incredible to see and seeing some of that firsthand as well and checking it out. Just the water was a massive force to be reckoned with. So very devastating to see a lot of that. But as you said, Montanans come together. And so there are some resilient communities and excited to see the positive coming out of it and seeing people rebuilding and coming back together where they can.
And of course, the Montana Beef Council is there to promote beef on behalf of the cattlemen and women here in the state of Montana to help educate people about about the protein, how nutritious it is. But at this time, the Montana Beef Council is going to help coordinate how to get beef to these victims of the flooding across southern Montana. First off, Shaylee, I guess how did this idea come about? Obviously, it's a great way to help people get fed. But how did the community members come together to really organize this? And how did the Beef Council start heading this off?
Well, as you can imagine, there are a lot of working parts and moving parts in a disaster and a crisis effort like this. And there have been an outpouring of support in a lot of these communities, and specifically in Red Lodge. And I do have friends and family still there. And so I was contacted and asked, we've had all these food donations, but there's no meat, there's no protein. And that would be really helpful for a lot of these frontline workers and volunteers. And so I got on the phone and made some contacts, reached out and got some meat to be able to donate right away, delivered that on Friday, and then am coordinating more. So if you have meat that you would like to donate to help these communities, it's going to help frontline workers, as I mentioned, like National Guard, as well as the other agencies that are assisting in some of those community kitchens, and then also feeding community members. And then, of course, helping restock some of those that have just seen total devastation and lost everything to make sure that they have some protein to fill their freezers and to restock as they rebuild their lives.
Now, Shaylee, when we look at making these donations, obviously, folks may have beef in their freezer, or maybe they're getting a beef cut up at the local butcher shop. What is the best way to decide how to get that down to the folks down there in southern Montana?
Sure. So if you are a local processor or a food distributor, or if you have a branded product, we're really able to help coordinate those. Those are probably the quickest and easiest ways. If you have a process that way, you've had it processed here, and we can deliver that and make that available to those communities, is going to be the quickest way to get help to those communities. And then we're coordinating and working on the other side for storage facilities for that. So if you have any storage capabilities, large storage capabilities, that can be really helpful as well, to be kind of a resource and a hub for those those in need and those victims, to be able to get that, as well as the kitchens and the staff that are helping prepare those meals.
And now, also, Shaylee, as we look at, I mean, there's been so many truckloads of food, of clothing, of bedding taken down to these these communities that have just truly been devastated. But not a lot of fresh protein being able to get down there as well. It's tough to transport frozen or fresh beef. I understand that. So what are some of the key things? How important it is to be serving a nutrient dense protein like beef to help in these rescue efforts. And again, I'm not trying to pat ourselves on the back for growing this great product, but truly it is about keeping people fed and strong to be able to carry out these efforts.
Well, beef is a powerhouse of nutrition, and protein, of course, is one of the 9 essential nutrients that beef provides. Those are essential nutrients, not just nice to have, but essential for daily living. So, really helpful to keep busy people going and long hours for those anyone experiencing loss and devastation. Really help keep going. Plus, those frontline workers and volunteers to make sure that they have a good meal and we're keeping protein and beef on their plate to make sure that they can keep going and rebuild and be stronger and better than ever.
Now, obviously, so many producers from across the state of Montana have been impacted by drought. And just like we had a half inch last night through this morning here in north central Montana, and hopefully a little more is on the way. And it is tough to watch two natural disasters occur in Montana at the same time, and we kind of feel a little helpless up here in drought country. But this would be a great way for producers to maybe pool some beef together and make that donation. And as you can see on the screen there, Shaylee's phone number is on there, 406-855-2857, or drop her an email at shaylee@montanabeefcouncil.org. But Shaylee, that this is a way for the state, for producers to come together that truly are experiencing different ends of the spectrum when it comes to natural disaster right now.
Yeah, and I think we saw that last year with all the fires and Montana coming together and helping out with hay donations or other essential needs that they may have had. And it's bizarre to think about the drastic differences that we're seeing in this state, and even that in a community like Red Lodge is seen with major fire last summer on Mount Maurice to this summer where they're flooding a 500-year flood event. So it's quite the drastic difference, but it's wonderful to live in a state and a community where Montanans do come together and help each other out and boost each other up. And I hope that any tourists or anyone that's moved here can really see that resilience and what makes us one giant community in Montana.
And of course, summer grilling season is coming up upon us as well. So for folks that maybe just wrapped up Father's Day, they might have got a new grill. What are some great resources for folks to be able to share a meal together with each other? Because obviously, it's great to have that beef, but it's even better when people know how to cook it right. What are some resources folks can find more on how to cook that beef just perfectly?
Right. So if you have some beef that's ready to be cooked up, then please visit montanabeefcouncil.org or beefitswhatsfordinner.com. Those are two very great resources for you. Follow along on our social media for some wonderful ways to prepare that perfect beef meal. Make sure you have a wonderful beef eating experience and that it is going to be wonderful for you and your family and friends to enjoy.
Now, again, Shaylee Harney joins us. And one more time, Shaylee, on the details on how people can make a donation to through the Montana Beef Council to help our friends in southern Montana impacted by drought. How folks can make that donation, or any questions that they may have. Give a quick shout out for that again as well.
Yes, so feel free to call me at 406-855-2857 or email at shaylee@montanabeefcouncil.org. We are coordinating those efforts to make sure that those protein donations get to the communities in need and where they're needed. We're coordinating in those local communities for storage capabilities and pickup and drop off, as well as cooking needs, and then making sure that they get where they need to and when they need to make sure we're doing the most good and helping out the most. So this isn't a one-day solution. It's going to take a while for these communities to rebuild. So I appreciate any support that anyone is able to provide, and questions, comments, please feel free to contact us at any time. We're happy to help, and just trying to live the Montana spirit and do the most good and help each other out where we can.
And on a related note, for those of you tuning in today, just a reminder that if you have had damage on your farm or ranch, that Montana USDA service centers are working to file a loss assessment report. And what this really is it helps agency officials out in Washington, D.C. truly understand the devastation that this flooding has caused. We have head gates out, we have irrigation ditches that are just gone. Obviously, the damage to hay, to commodity crops, so much devastation, millions and millions and millions of dollars of agricultural input and infrastructure impacted last week. I did an interview with the acting executive director for Montana Farm Service Agency, Les Rispens, last week. Great resources. That is online at westernagnetwork.com. We're on our Facebook page as well. He provides a lot of good information, but as you can see, that information scrolling on your screen. If make sure and contact that local USDA service center. Share those pictures. It truly will help open the door for all these disaster aid programs and the funding to be able to come in and start rebuilding our rural communities. With that note set aside, Shaylee, any last thoughts, comments, or anything you'd like to share with our audience here today on the Western Ag Network?
We'll appreciate the opportunity to bring this information to life and help our local communities, our producers, and our consumers on both sides, and connect everyone. And beef brings people to the table. So whether you're visiting or volunteering or a frontline worker or rebuilding, whatever your case might be, we're happy to make sure that you can have a good meal and keep beef on your plate.
Well, again, thank you so much to Shaylee Harney and all the volunteer leaders at the Montana Beef Council, and for all the producers or folks at grocery stores or local meat processing facilities that are stepping up, making these donations. It's a great way, again, to support each other during these difficult times. And we know that we produce the best beef in the world here in the U.S. and particularly here in Montana, and it's a great way to support each other and really look out for our neighbors. So with that, again, to donate through the Montana Beef Council, contact Shaylee at 406-855-2857 or drop her an email at shaylee@montanabeefcouncil.org. And again, visit them online for more on all that the Montana Beef Council does to promote beef here in the state of Montana. Shaylee, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you, Lane.
And with that, that will do it for this special report here on the Western Ag Network. I'm Lane Nordlund. Stay safe out there, friends.